Hey guys, welcome back. Mr. Zern here. Today we are talking about truth tables. This is a complicated subject. I've got about 3 slides we're going to take a look at, and then the accompanying code. Now, this first one's not too bad. So basically, you can think of the expression of equal equals or not equals when you see the exclamation point equal sign there. Specifically with the not equals to, basically, if it's not true, the statement evaluates to false, and if it's not false, the statement evaluates to true. So kind of the opposite. So let's take a look here at the code, and we'll see this running here. So in this very beginning, I've got this truth table, and it says type yes, and I'll do just that, and it comes back, true. And if we take a look there, we can see, if question does not equal yes, print false. If question equals yes, print true. And so that one's pretty straightforward. I'll run it again, and we just say no this time. Really, I could say anything other than yes, and it comes back. It evaluates false because if question does not equal yes, print false. All right. So that one's not too complicated. It's this next one, then the one after that gets a bit more tricky. So here we're using the logical operator and so if we have if we're kind of measuring two things, we can do that in a conditional statement, like such as if something and something. We can do that in a while loop, kind of the same thing. So while this is true and this other thing is true, come back true. And so then with the and, if we have again, whether it's a while or a conditional if statement, if this first thing is true and the second thing is false, comes back as false. If the first thing is false and the second thing is true, still comes back as false. And if it's the first thing is false and the second thing is false, it's going to come back as a false statement. So let's take a look here at that. And so here I am at the second one. Let me just scroll down a little bit in my code, and this is the and. So truth tables using and type yes. All right. And only the first one triggers. So again, it's kind of weird because I'm just basically measuring the same variable twice there. So we can see, question, if question equals yes and question equals yes, then print, it's true and true. And that's exactly what it is. The next one is, equals yes, but does not equal yes, and then does not equal yes equals yes, and then finally does not equal yes and does not equal yes. Now, usually you wouldn't be measuring the same variable twice. You're kind of looking at two things here, but I'm just trying to simplify that process. Let me stop the program. I'm going to run it again, and this time let's get to the second one. Here we go. So I'm going to type no, but really I could type anything other than yes, and we're going to see that only the last one, because both statements are false, right? Because I typed a no. So if question does not equal yes, I'm looking at line 20 there. That's that works out. And if question does not equal yes, and I typed a no, so that's also, it triggers that final conditional statement there. All right, so that's and. All right, let's take a look at or. Okay, and so here instead of and, where both things kind of have to happen, this is or is sort of like if either one is happening, then we're good to go. So obviously if both statements are true, then it's definitely going to evaluate to true, and that's the same as the and statement. All right, this is where things diverge a bit. So we could have if the first thing is true, or if the second one is false, it's going to evaluate to true. Because again, if either one evaluates correctly or true, it's going to evaluate to true. And the second one, the first one could be false, and the second one could be true. Still going to evaluate as true. And then finally, in the fourth one, both are evaluating as false. So neither of them, neither of those statements are proving, true. It's going to come back false. So let's take a look at that, and that's where I am. So I'll start by typing yes. Let me just scroll down here in my code so you can really kind of see that thing happening. And I'll hit enter, and we can see that the first one triggers because both statements are true. We can see the second one triggers because the first one is true, but the second one's not, but that's okay because it's or, so I only need one of the two to trigger. In 32, the first one is false, but the second one is true, and so again, that conditional statement triggers because only one needs to be true. And then the fourth one, does not trigger because neither statement is true. Let me just run this again. Let me get past the first one and then the second one. All right, so here we are. I'm going to type no for the this third truth table segment here. And again, we can see 3 of them trigger, but not the first one this time because again, both are true in that first statement, so that can't trigger because I have a false one there. Let's see here. The second one is true, but the second one is false, so that's going to trigger. The first one is, in the third one, the first one is false, but the second one is true. It's still going to trigger because of that or statement. And then in the final one, they're both false, so that last statement triggers. And so just trying to emphasize the difference between or, where either one can trigger and we're good to go. The second one, an and statement, where both have to basically, prove true, or both have to prove false, kind of depending on how you're looking at it, in order to trigger. And then, of course, we just sort of have that equal, not equal. We're kind of get the inverse thing that we're looking for there. All right, guys. So just taking a few minutes there to talk about truth tables. I will talk to you later.